Welcome back. In 2023, 9,462 pedestrians were injured in an accident with a motor vehicle, resulting in 94 deaths in New York City. Of that number, 1,383 pedestrians injured, including 16 fatalities, were in the Bronx alone. It is because of these kinds of incidents that AARP New York started the Taking It to the Streets Improving Pedestrian Safety in Your Community. The project aims to empower pedestrians and community groups to address the issue of sidewalk safety. Join me in studio is the State Director for AARP, Beth Finkel. Beth, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about AARP New York?
Well, let's see, there's so much to tell. AARP, is a not-for-profit. We are a membership organization for people that are 50 and older, although younger people are joining our ranks all the time, which we love. And for the most part, we work on advocacy and public policy, community service, and education and outreach.
Now, I think this initiative is amazing. Just as a New Yorker, I've seen some of this myself, but can you tell me a little bit more about taking it to the streets and this effort to improve pedestrian safety in the community?
Well, AARP has realized for a long time that it is time for pedestrians and other people besides just motor vehicles to take back the streets. The streets in New York and pretty much across the country were originally built to accommodate cars, maybe originally horse and wagons, but they were really never developed with the thought of pedestrians particularly in mind. And it's so important that we do that. And it's not just for older people. If you're taking a baby stroller out, you know what I'm talking about. If you have little children on bicycles, if you are walking with a shopping cart, or just plain walking, this city can be a very dangerous place to cross the street.
Now, I kind of mentioned some numbers, as we started this, but can you tell me a little bit more about, just that intense need to address New York sidewalk, safety and the issues that we've been seeing?
Well, just think about it. I mean, I know when I cross the street in my neighborhood, it's so tense because you never know if the curb cut is going to be there. You never know if the curb cut is going to be repaired. You never know if the crosswalks are going to be painted sufficiently. And you really don't know if you can really get across the street. Even though they give you that light count in many intersections, you still don't know if you can get across. And if you are on a big boulevard, and the Bronx has many beautiful boulevards, can you get to that center island? Or in fact, is there even an accessible center island for you to be able to stand on safely?
Now, I want to talk about something that I've been seeing, and it was just, with the rise of scooters and motorbikes, some of them are actually on the sidewalk. Does this initiative kind of address, some smaller things and issues like that?
So this initiative is about having people in their own communities identify intersections they are personally concerned about. And so the idea is that they take this survey, which you can get from downloading, and it takes 10 minutes. You don't have to be a traffic engineer to do it. I've done it many times, and you basically go out with this and you check the boxes of what you're concerned about. There's also an open place to add more. So back to your concern about cyclists, yes, I think we all know, and especially for older people, it can be very disconcerting because the cyclists come literally out of nowhere. You think you've checked where you're going, you think you're safe, and then whoosh, I mean, they just come out of nowhere. And as someone who's actually was hit by a bicyclist
Wow.
and had a broken collarbone from it, I totally get the concern. But there are rules on the books. I think that what we need to look at there is enforcement, because from what I hear from people in the community, there's very little enforcement of those laws.
Now that kind of goes back to my next question. When did the program begin, and since then, what has the response been like?
So we started this, we kicked it off on November 14th, and actually, we've had a few rain days in between, which we're glad for those rain days, so we've actually extended it to December 6th. And so all across New York State, literally Long Island, New York City, up through Westchester, all the way up to Plattsburgh, all the way west to Buffalo, we've got hundreds of people coming out in these few weeks to do their own assessment. And that's why I'm so happy to be on today to ask the people in the Bronx, because I know you're concerned about pedestrian safety. You gave those data points in the Bronx, which are not good. And so we really want to make sure that people get out there, pull down that survey, take back their streets and sidewalks, take back their intersections.
And I want to kind of preface or just kind of highlight the term walk audit. Can you explain, what that means and, what people will be doing in that?
Sure. So again, you pull down this survey and print it out, or you can fill it out online, either way. But I think it's easier to pull it down, print it, and walk out there with it. And literally, it will ask you, can you cross the street with the light timed the way it is? Are the lines easily, can you see the lines? Are the curb cuts? Are there curb cuts at all? Are there two curb cuts? Because you really need one on either. Sometimes we're finding that they're putting them in the middle, which is not always as comfortable and safe for pedestrians. But there's a myriad of other things to be looking at. Are the sidewalks choppy? I mean, how often do we see cracks? Do we see actual slabs of the concrete coming up? Which is so dangerous. And of course we know older people are very concerned about falls, and it's so easy to fall and trip on these. So that's another. But there's, I forgot the number of check boxes, and then at the end, you'll actually be able to score your intersection.
Wow.
You can give them a grade.
Now, I want to talk about another community that this affects, and these are people who are disabled. How can they kind of get involved and help this initiative?
Absolutely. I mean, in many of the places that we've been, we either have had people who are in wheelchairs or using walkers actually perform the actual survey themselves or with a friend. But you can also reach out and ask your friends or neighbors, if you are, to please do it. Maybe pull it down and print it and hand it to them and ask them to go and check it out. But even in places that we have not been able to have someone in a wheelchair, in some communities they are actually taking an empty wheelchair and walking it across because they want to experience what it means to be in the position of somebody who's disabled and what those challenges and barriers are. Because one of the things about New York City in particular and the Bronx is that we are walkable communities. And the New York Department of Transportation has done a great job of updating and many intersections. But they are very willing to hear from the public, to hear about other intersections that the public is concerned about. And AARP is in a great position to gather that information and deliver it back to DOT.
Now, I know we talked about older New Yorkers and those who may have disabilities, but why is this something that, maybe even a teenager should care about, or, somebody who may be a little bit younger? Why is this something that they should also take part in?
Well, I'm sure that even if you're someone who's younger, you know someone who has either been hit by a car or came really close. I mean, many of us come really close almost every day. And all of us have family and neighbors that we care about. So it's for yourselves, because this is about all age groups. This is New York at its best, the Bronx at its best, being age-friendly to all ages. And we're all in it together, right? And we all need to take back our streets together.
Exactly. And I also think that since we're a city that people like to go out, get exercise, remain active, bike riders, skateboarders, these are people that could also be affected by this. So I think for sure, this is something that everybody should be on board with. Now, is this the first time AARP has done something like this? And if not, what were some of the outcomes from the last time?
So we have done this in different communities, like at one-shot deals, but we realized that we really need to come together. We need to make sure that our local officials are informed about these concerns and that we can do it in a data-driven way, because that's what policymakers respect, right? If you can come to them with data, then they're very respectful of trying to figure out solutions to this. And again, this is at the county level, this is at the city level, but it's also at the state level. So we are also sharing this information with our state representatives, both our assembly members and our state senators. We're going to share it with Bronx Borough President Vanessa. We're sharing it with all the county execs that we're going come in contact with. And also with, as I said before, Department of Transportation, which is participating not just here in New York City, but across the state. New York State Office for the Aging is participating all across New York State. New York State Department of State is participating all across the state. So we've got some great partners and local organizations that are participating, and just want to encourage everybody else. We all own our streets, and so we need to take back some control over that.
Now, I am so glad that you talked about some of our elected officials, because I wanted to know, after, people, do the walk audit and they kind of do the assessment, what is the next step? How can they ensure that, what they did, they will see the outcome of that?
Well, again, once you download that survey and you fill it out, then you can upload it back to us. We're going to aggregate all that great data. We're going to share it with the New York State Assembly, New York State Senate, because again, they've got a lot of purse strings, right? And they can make things happen. But we're also going to be sharing it with county execs and local Department of Transportation, and your own city council person. City council people are so tied to the community, right? And they want to hear this stuff because that's the way they can go and advocate for their own communities. So again, because we'll have the data, because everyone will get together and get this in. And by the way, we've already collected quite a number of them, and we're very excited. Yep. And so the more the better. And then we'll give grades. As I said, you can give it to your intersection that you fill out. Give them an A, B, C, or D, or an F. I hope not. But we will do an aggregate report like that and share it with all levels of government.
Now, this is an amazing initiative, and what I love about it most is that it shows that you don't have to just accept the way things currently are. Mm-hmm. There are things, because I noticed that maybe in my community, people have a lot of ideas and thoughts, but they think that there's nothing that they can do. I love that this gives people the option to kind of take charge, so that's amazing. With that, how do you see this fitting in with, AARP's other initiatives, to kind of help better the communities, around New York City?
I'm glad you asked that. So yes, AARP is, our really like our main thing is to make sure that as people age, they can make the decisions that they want to make. And so that, when we talk about livable communities, right, it's hard to make those decisions if you don't have affordable housing, if you don't have transportation available to you, if your pedestrian safety is in jeopardy, if you can't make the health care decisions that you want to make because you don't have access to good health care. I mean, there's just so many areas that if you, economic security. And so one of the things that we do, and I know this is more local here in the Bronx, but I think the main thing that people need to remember about AARP is we are 38 million people strong. We are in the halls of Congress all the time. And when it comes to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, there's nobody fighting harder for all of us on those things in AARP.
Well, with that, Beth, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit more about the work you're doing to make sure, we have a safer country for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
To learn more about their efforts to address sidewalk safety, please go to the website on the screen below. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch our brand new episode of Open with Darren Hymie on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.